Have you ever felt invisible? Not in the superpower kind of way. I mean, the kind of invisible where you are standing in a crowded room, screaming on the inside, and everyone just looks right through you like you're a smudge on a window pane. Now, imagine that feeling, but the people looking through you are the ones who made you. There's a specific texture to silence on your birthday. It's heavier than normal silence. It presses down on your chest. It's the sound of a phone not ringing. It's the sound of the mail slot only clicking for utility bills. It's the sound of your parents walking past your bedroom door, discussing what appetizer to serve at a party that isn't yours. My name is Ilara, and for 24 years, I've lived in the shadow of a golden statue. My older brother, Julian. Their neglect wasn't subtle. It wasn't an accident. You don't accidentally forget one child's birthday for a decade straight while hiring event planners for the other. It was a pattern, a statement, a yearly reminder of exactly where I stood in the family hierarchy. But this year was different. The silence finally broke, and what replaced it was the sound of everything crashing down. To understand why I did what I did, you need to understand the ecosystem of my house growing up. We weren't royalty, but my parents acted like it. Appearances were everything. The right clothes, the right cars, and, most importantly, the right children. Julian was the right child. He was charming, athletic, and had that easy confidence that comes from never having been told no. He was the sun my parents orbited around. I was the other one, the quiet one, the bookworm, the one who didn't photograph as well. I was the moon, only visible when I was reflecting Julian's light, and usually ignored because the sun was just so much brighter. My birthday is October 12th. Julian's is November 5th, less than a month apart. That proximity was the curse of my existence. It started small. When I turned 7, my party was a grocery store cake with the wrong name spelled on it, eaten at the kitchen island on a Tuesday night. My parents spent the entire time talking about the bouncy castle they were renting for Julian's 8th birthday 3 weeks later. By the time I was 13, the pretense had stopped entirely. I remember waking up on my 13th birthday. There was nothing. No balloons outside my door. No special breakfast. My mother was on the phone in the hallway, aggressively negotiating with a DJ for Julian's party. When I walked into the kitchen, my father looked up from his newspaper, registered my presence, and said, "Ilara, don't forget to take the recycling out before school." That was it. That was my 13th birthday greeting. Later that night, I sat in my room and watched through the window as a delivery truck dropped off decorations for Julian. They were turning the backyard into a literal carnival. I confronted my mother in the hallway. I was shaking. I said, "Mom, it's today. It's my birthday." She stopped, holding a clipboard filled with party planning notes. She looked at me with this glaze over her eyes, a look of mild irritation, like I'd interrupted her during something actually important. "Oh, Ilara, honey," she sighed, not sounding sorry at all. With everything going on for Julian's big day, it just slipped my mind. We're just so overwhelmed right now. You understand, don't you? We'll do something nice for you. Later, after the chaos settles down. Later never came. It was always deferred. My birthday became the waiting room for Julian's celebration. Year after year, it was the same My Sweet 16. They handed me $50 and told me to go to the movies with a friend because they were hosting a networking dinner for Julian's high school football scouts that night. I spent my 16th birthday sitting alone in the back row of a theater, crying into a bucket of popcorn. My 18th, the day I became an adult. They were away touring Ivy League campuses with Julian. I got a text message from my dad. "Happy birthday, kid. Don't forget to feed the dog, and the parties for Julian, they became legendary in our town." My parents poured money they barely had into them. Catered dinners for 200 people. Live bands, ice sculptures. It was nauseating. Julian, for his part, just soaked it up. He wasn't mean to me, exactly. He just didn't notice me. He was so used to being the main character that he just assumed I was happy to be an extra in his movie. He'd clap me on the shoulder during his parties, slightly drunk on attention and expensive champagne, and say, "Great party, right, Ellie? Mom and Dad really outdid themselves." He never asked why I didn't have a party. He never asked why I was usually hiding in the kitchen, helping the catering staff because I felt more comfortable with them than with my own family. I learned to shrink. I learned to make myself as small as possible, so the disappointment wouldn't hit so big a target. I stopped expecting. I stopped hoping. Until my 24th birthday, this year, the stakes were higher than ever. Julian was turning 25, the quarter-century mark. And according to my parents, he had just secured a massive promotion at the prestigious downtown finance firm where he worked. My parents were hysterical with pride. This was the vindication of all their efforts. The Golden Child had officially launched. They started planning in August for a November party. They booked the ballroom of the city's nicest hotel. It was going to be a black tie gala. The theme was success. My birthday, October 12th, approached like a lamb heading to slaughter. A week before my birthday, my mother cornered me in the kitchen. She was holding color swatches for table linens. "Ilara," she said, not making eye contact. "Big favor. We're way over budget for Julian's gala. Things are tight. We need to cut corners where we can." I felt a familiar coldness spread through my chest. I knew what was coming. "I need you to help with the setup on the day of the party," she continued. "And, well, I know your birthday is next week, but given how huge Julian's accomplishment is and how much this is costing us, we really can't do anything separate for you this year. We'll sing happy birthday to you during the dessert course at Julian's gala. It'll be a joint celebration. That's better anyway, isn't it? More people. A joint celebration. At a party themed around Julian's success. A party taking place 3 weeks after my actual birthday. It wasn't a request. It was a notification. I looked at her. Really looked at her. I saw the frantic need in her eyes to project a perfect life. I saw the complete absence of maternal instinct toward me. Something inside me, something that had been bending for 24 years, finally snapped. It didn't snap loudly. It was a quiet, clean break. "Okay," I said. My voice was flat. "That sounds fine, Mom." She smiled, relieved she didn't have to deal with any messy emotions from me. "Oh, good. You're such a trooper, Ilara. I knew you'd understand. It's all for the family, right?" "Right," I said. "For the family." My birthday came and went. October 12th. I turned 24 in complete silence. I went to my job as a paralegal, came home to an empty house because my parents were out tasting cakes for Julian, ordered Thai food, and went to bed at 9 p.m. But I wasn't sad. Not this time. I was numb. And under the numbness, I was focused. They wanted me to help with the party? Fine. I would help. The weeks leading up to the gala were frantic. My parents were stressed to the breaking point. I kept hearing whispered, angry arguments behind closed doors about money. Credit cards were being maxed out. They were taking out a second mortgage on the house to pay for the ballroom and the open bar. They were leveraging their entire future to celebrate Julian's present. 2 days before the party, my mother sent me to Julian's apartment to pick up a suit he needed to be dry cleaned. Julian wasn't there. He was supposedly on a high-stakes business trip before the big night. I let myself in with the emergency key. His apartment was a mess. It didn't look like the apartment of a high-flying young executive. It looked like a frat house. Pizza boxes, video games, laundry everywhere. I went into his bedroom to get the suit. As I grabbed the jacket from the closet floor, a stack of papers slid off his bedside table. I bent down to pick them up, and then I stopped. The top letter was on heavy, official letterhead. It wasn't from his finance firm. It was from a debt collection agency. Final notice. A staggering amount. I started digging. The next letter was even more interesting. It was from his firm, but it wasn't a promotion offer. It was a termination letter, dated 3 months ago. Due to consistent failure to meet performance metrics and chronic absenteeism, Julian hadn't been promoted. He had been fired. For 3 months, he had been pretending to go to work. He had been lying to my parents, feeding their ego, letting them bankrupt themselves to throw a party celebrating a success that didn't exist. I sat on the edge of his messy bed, surrounded by the evidence of his lies. I thought about my parents taking out a second mortgage. I thought about my 13th birthday, watching them set up a carnival for him while I took out the recycling. I thought about my mother saying, "It's all for the family, right?" A strange calm washed over me. I wasn't going to scream. I wasn't going to confront him privately. My mother wanted a joint celebration. She wanted me to be part of Julian's big night. I decided I would give her exactly what she asked for the night of the gala arrived. It was obscene. The hotel ballroom dripped with crystals and expensive floral arrangements. Everyone who was anyone in our town was there. My parents stood at the entrance, beaming, playing the roles of the successful patriarch and matriarch, shaking hands, accepting congratulations on behalf of their golden son. Julian looked the part in his freshly dry-cleaned tuxedo. He worked the room, flashing that winning smile, accepting toasts to his non-existent promotion. I wore an old navy dress that helped me blend into the drapes. I did what I was told. I helped manage the seating chart. I guided guests to the open bar. I played the good, invisible sister. My parents barely looked at me, except to gesture for me to fetch something. Dinner was served. The wine flowed. The speeches began. My father gave a 15-minute speech about Julian's unstoppable drive and natural brilliance. My mother tearfully talked about how Julian had always been destined for greatness. Then, it was time for the dessert course. The time my mother had promised we would celebrate me. The lights dimmed slightly. A waiter brought out a massive 3-tiered cake for Julian, complete with sparklers. The room erupted in applause. "For he's a jolly good fellow," was sung. As the song died down, my mother nervously grabbed the microphone. "And everyone," she chirped, her voice a little too high, "we have another little celebration tonight. We were so busy planning this incredible night for Julian that we missed Ilara's birthday last month. So let's have a quick round of applause for Ilara too. Happy 24th, honey, wherever you are in the room." A scattering of polite, confused applause. People looked around, trying to locate the afterthought daughter. I stepped out from the shadows near the stage. "Thank you, Mother," I said, walking toward the microphone. My mother looked panicked. This wasn't part of the script. I was supposed to wave meekly from a corner. I took the microphone from her hand. The room went dead silent. I wasn't hiding anymore. I stood center stage, the spotlight hitting me for the first time in my life. It felt hot. "It's really wonderful to see so many people here to celebrate my brother," I began, my voice clear and steady. I looked at Julian. He was smiling uncertainly, holding a glass of scotch. "Julian's success is truly something to behold," I continued. "My parents are so proud. They literally mortgaged their house for a second time to pay for this evening. Because nothing is too good for the golden child, right?" A nervous ripple went through the crowd. My father started walking toward the stage, his face dark with fury. "But you know," I said, speeding up slightly, "honesty is the best gift you can give someone. And since we're doing a joint celebration, I wanted to give Julian and my parents a gift." I reached into the small clutch bag I was carrying and pulled out the folded letters I had taken from Julian's apartment. "We are all here tonight to celebrate Julian's massive promotion at Sterling Finance," I said, holding up the papers. Which is strange, because according to this letter from Sterling Finance, dated August 14th, I paused for effect. The silence was suffocating. Julian was fired 3 months ago for incompetence and not showing up for work. A gasp ripped through the room. It wasn't a polite gasp. It was the sound of 200 people simultaneously inhaling shock. Julian dropped his glass. It shattered on the ballroom floor. My father froze halfway to the stage. My mother looked like she was going to faint. "And this," I held up the second letter, "is a final demand notice for $50,000 in gambling debts that Julian has racked up while pretending to go to an office he no longer works at." I placed the letters gently on the podium. "So," I said, my voice dropping to a quieter, deadlier tone, "happy birthday to me, and congratulations on the promotion, Julian. Enjoy the party. You all certainly paid enough for it." I didn't drop the mic. That would have been tacky. I placed it back in the stand. I walked off the stage, past my father, whose face was a mask of absolute horror, not at me, but at the realization of the financial ruin and public humiliation staring him in the face. I walked past Julian, who was slumped in his chair, the golden facade completely dissolved, looking like a scared little boy. No one tried to stop me. The room was frozen in a tableau of shattered illusions. I walked out of the ballroom, through the lobby, and out into the cool night air. I didn't have a coat, but for the first time in 24 years, I didn't feel cold. I felt light. They got their big party. They got the attention they always craved. And they got the truth. I haven't spoken to them since that night. I heard through relatives that the fallout was catastrophic. The house is on the market. Julian is finding himself in rehab. My parents are drowning in the debt of maintaining a lie. They finally remembered me, though. My phone blew up for weeks with angry, pleading voicemails. They weren't invisible anymore, and they hated it. But me? I moved 2 towns over. I got my own apartment. And next year on October 12th, I'm going to buy myself the biggest, most beautiful cake I can find. And I'm going to eat it in peace, because I'm done living in the shadows. Thank you for listening to my story. It took me a long time to find my voice, and if you've ever felt invisible in your own family, I hope this helps you find yours too. Sometimes, the only way to get out of the shadows is to turn on the light yourself, no matter what it reveals. If this story resonated with you, Please subscribe to Revenge Beyond Love and like this video. We share stories here about finding strength when you've been beaten down and finding justice in the most unexpected ways. You are not alone. See you next time.